Welcome to part 3 of this video series. We're looking at the repair and restoration of the Stella ST234A radio. And in this video, I'm going to do the Bakelite repairs to the case, do the cosmetics, get it looking really good, put the whole thing back together and give it a final test. Okay, the chassis is off the bench and I want to turn my attention to the case. There are a few paint marks down the side here, which I want to take off. And if you recall from the very start of the video, there's this missing piece of Bakelite that needs to be remolded. And I'll go through the process of doing that. Generally speaking, I just want to give the case a good polish, bring it up as best as I can. Bear in mind, it's from the late 1950s, so I don't want it to be perfect, but I'm sure I can improve it. Bear in mind as well, this is old Bakelite, and it's more likely than not to have asbestos in there. So if you're doing any sanding or polishing, then do it outside and wear a mask as well. Bakelite on its own is okay. It retains the asbestos in there. It's only if you're sanding it and cracking it apart, that sort of thing. So just be very, very careful. I'm just going to start by giving this a good clean with warm soapy water and see how that brings it up. Yeah, so just a little bit of warm soapy water. Try and get as much dust off this as I can. It's taking off a little bit of dust. Get it as clean as possible, so I'll just carry on with this for the moment. I want to go about fixing this missing piece and the repair of this crack. You can see that in the case there. Normally I would grind this out a little bit and use epoxy to clamp it shut, especially if it was visible from the outside, because then I could just force it through and mold it and sand it down so the crack's hidden. But the crack actually from the outside is almost invisible. And so what I'm going to do, I'm just going to keep it simple and just use some super glue. Super glue works very well with Bakelite because it's a very porous material. So what I'm going to do is just open that up a little bit, pour some super glue in there throughout the length, clamp it up, and then I'll just leave it overnight. And then we'll go on to the next stage of filling in this or replacing this missing piece of Bakelite here. So, okay, if you are grinding things out, obviously, just bear in mind you need to be outside really with a mask on because the likelihood is there is asbestos within this Bakelite, so you just need to be very careful. Okay, so I'm going to leave this overnight to set properly. No rush to get this done. So just got a very light ratchet clamp on there. Not a lot of pressure. It's just to hold it together. And we'll have a look at that in the morning. And then we'll get to work on this missing piece of Bakelite. Okay, so I've got the crack stabilized. There's a little bit of work to do just to hide that more. What I want to do is turn my attention to this missing piece of Bakelite. So the idea is to fill this up with epoxy, but I need something around here to allow the epoxy to take the shape. So I'm just going to use some card. I'm basically just going to clamp it to the radio like that. Obviously I've got this foot, this base really to deal with, so I need to just chalk this up a little bit. Now to stop the epoxy binding to the card, I can use some aluminium foil tape. The epoxy doesn't stick very well for that, so I'm going to stick that to the card first, and then I'll just find a small bit of wood just to finish the former off. Right, there's my bit of card and my tape. So I just need to get the backing off this and And just need to gently apply it here. Just be careful to try and get all of the air bubbles out of it. Don't have to be super accurate. I do want to try and get it as smooth as possible. And that's actually not looking too bad. So there's enough foundation there just to allow that to rest on here. So that's good. Okay, the foundation is strapped on and it's taken shape very well. So I've also made this little wall to make a nice neat edge to the epoxy. It's what I'm going to use is two-part epoxy. This is a 24-hour setting epoxy, and I want a 24-hour set mainly because after about 12 hours and it's fairly tacky, I'll probably put a second layer on there, maybe a third, and just build it up that way. So what I need to do now is just fundamentally get mixing the epoxy. Okay, so you mix even parts of hardener and resin, and make sure it's really well mixed. I've been mixing this for 30 seconds because you want it to harden off properly. At this point now, it's just a case of applying it into the cavity. Get some of these crevices filled. That's not looking too bad. I'll just keep carrying on with this process, and at some point I'll just let it set overnight, or at least for 12 hours, then put a second coat on maybe. Well, my little former has done its job very well, so the resin has taken the shape very well. What I'm going to do now is I'm just going to use some acrylic paints just to hand touch this to match the colour. And then what I'll do then, I'll just polish the case. That's all I need to do. I've actually had this standing on its base properly, the case, because this is on the bottom. We don't really see it anyway, but I'll just bring it in to the right tone just to match it up. Well, the repairs of the case have gone really well. This is a new piece of Bakelite, which is epoxy resin. It's moulded in really well. It's blended in really well. Time to polish the case now, and I've come outside simply because I don't want to breathe any Bakelite dust. It could potentially contain asbestos, and I don't want to be getting that in my lungs. So I'll be wearing a mask, I'll be using gloves, and we'll go through the process of actually polishing this case. So I'm going to start with some 1000 grit sandpaper, and as you'll get the gloves on, I'm going to use wet sandpaper as well, simply because I want to contain the dust. So I've just got some standard wet and dry, and make sure this is nice and wet. And I'm going to put no pressure at all on the side of the case here. I'm just going to rub the sandpaper very gently, and I'm just listening to the sound diminishing, which shows that the imperfections have been removed. It's really just that. A very gentle movement, no pressure at all. And we just carry on with this process until we're satisfied we've got the case done. I've carefully wiped that down and let it dry. Already there's almost like a wood grain effect coming onto the Bakelite. So the next stage is brasso. So it's just a fine polish basically, so just standard brasso. And I'll put some of this on. and we need to work at this. Just take a lot of effort. So I've got myself a decent cloth. So I'll give it a good shake. I'll probably need to give that a good shake actually. There we go. And it's just working the brasso in. It's a very fine polish, and we just need to work at this, and then we'll start to see some results before the final stage. Okay, so I've finished preparing the cabinets. I've given it a good gentle sanding. I've used lots of brasso to get all the marks out. It's taken the surface layer of old lacquer or polish away, so the surface is quite matte now, but it looks quite good. It's nice and even. I think it will be nice, almost like a tortoiseshell effect when this is actually brought back. So now I want to go and apply some polish. Like a lot of people, I just look at the internet to work out what materials are best to use and practice with them. So I've got the liquid gold wood reviver. So this is a liquid polish for wood. Liquid polishes work very well on Bakelite. It's quite porous, so they do soak in very well. So all I'm going to do is apply this, and we'll see how we get on. Right, it's just a simple matter of getting some of the polish on a cloth and just rubbing this in. And you can see the effect straight away. It's looking absolutely marvellous. And yeah, it's got almost a tortoise shell effect on there. So I'm going to keep doing that, and we'll have a look at the finished cabinet. And the case is done now. It looks really good. I think it's stunning. The repair work blends in very well. You can hardly see it. I did think long and hard about repainting the gold on the front, but it's cleaned up very well. I don't want the case or the radio to look brand new. So I'll just leave it at that for the moment. It's something I can always come back to if I feel it needs extra work, but as it stands, I think it's absolutely fantastic. What I'm going to do now, I'm going to do some more work on the chassis. I want to turn my attention to this plate here now, and my thoughts are that this cream paint is not original to the chassis. There's a couple of reasons to say that. First of all, why would you do that in manufacturing? That's quite a big process, so somebody's actually got to paint that. I've also noticed as well, there's no primer under here. It's just painted straight on the plastic. And it has been repaired, so somebody has been in the radio. The other thought is, looking at these dial lamps, they're very, very dim. And I just wonder if somebody's gone into the radio to change the dial lamps, found they're really dim, and just painted this a bright colour to get extra reflection. Unfortunately, there's no reference out there of this particular chassis that I can find and the colour that this is. So my plan is to have a good look at these dial lamps. I don't think these are the right specification. I've definitely got some of the right specifications, so I'm going to change those. And if they're really bright, then I'll probably just clean this up. If the same dimness, then I'll have a think about it and may paint this bit of plastic. But let's just see how we get on. Go and get some lamps and see what the effect is. Right, I've changed the lamps, and these should be 6.5 volts, 300 milliamps, and I had 2 of those spare. The lamps I took out were 20 volt lamps, so that'll explain why they're dim. So I'll put these in. Let's just see how they light. Oh, and that's perfect. So this just confirms what I thought, that this paint, in my mind, was added later. I think what I'll do, I'm just going to clean this plate up, tidy it up, and bring it back to what I believe is the original. and then that's another job done. Right, that's the chassis done, and I decided against reworking the modification to the IF transformer. I felt I could do more damage that way. I will, if I need to do the alignment again, I will undertake that modification. As it stands, the repair is not ideal, but it is working perfectly well. So for the time being, I'll just leave that. I want to turn my attention to the grill fabric. This is the grill fabric that's come off the radio. It's really quite dirty, it's frayed, and I just want to lift the radio. So I couldn't find the exact fabric, but what I did do was find this, and I think it's a good sympathetic match to the radio. It's going to really pop, I think, when I put that on. So keeping the same color schemes, but just slightly different pattern. So I think this is going to improve the radio a lot. So I'm going to get this mounted now and start putting the radio back together. Right, that's the Stella ST234A complete, which is based on the Philips 353A chassis. And it's a really nice radio to work on. And I was really pleased with the way the case turned out. It just looks fantastic. And it sounds pretty good. It's not exceptional in the sense that I've got the Bush VHF 64 radio, which is exceptional. So I just tend to compare everything to that. Nevertheless, some people say it's a fantastic sounding radio. I think it's okay. And I do have some ideas to improve it. I do have some Celestion codes of the right specification. I just need to make a little adapter to put one of those in. So that might be a future project. But as it is, I think I'll just keep it as authentic as possible, using it all the time in the garage, and it works really well. So on to the next project. So if you do like these videos, then please do share them. Please do subscribe. It really does help me, gives me encouragement. And I'll catch you with the next project.